Hello and welcome to Srinivasan and I host this weekly show where we look at the New York Times and talk about the issues of the day. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentors website. Special shout out to everyone watching the replay. We know that 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time isn't everybody's favorite time of the morning, but we appreciate you coming back to watch this show. We have several very interesting stories that we're going to be looking at today, and we have several gift links on our website as well. So we want to make sure that you have a sense of what's to come. We're going to be focusing on President Trump's trip to China and some of the analysis of that trip. We'll be talking about RFK Jr.'s war on mental health care, and particularly because since it's Mental Health Awareness Month. We also have a special summer cooking insert from the New York Times. Now, about monthly or so that they do a special cooking insert, but we also have that PDF on our website. So if you go to tinyurl.com/NYT Summer Cooking, you can find a link to the New York Times Cooking if you have the app, but we also have the PDF on our website, thanks to our friends at the New York Times. Another article that we'll be looking at that's on the front page today, that's a huge story, My Family's American Secret. And I want to make this just a little bit bigger for you. This is a front page display story. It has 4 pages inside, and it's written by a New York Times writer who talks about a really incredible story about several generations of her family that were split apart by race. We will dive into that in just a little bit. But for now, again, we want to make sure that you let us know where you're watching from. Type it in the comments in Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you might be watching, and we will be able to put that on the screen. We also encourage you to tag people that you know who might be interested in watching. As I mentioned earlier, we do this show every Sunday, except for holidays, of course. We took Mother's Day off. We'll be taking Memorial Day off next week as well, Memorial Day weekend. This show is produced by Digimentors, the social and digital consulting firm that Srinivasan started with his good friend Andrew Lee. I'm proud to be a vice president of events and communications for Digimentors. We also want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors, Muck and Graphic History Company. Thank you so much for your support of the New York Times Read Along and for all of the work that you do. And as a reminder, we will not be hosting a show next weekend since it will be Memorial Day weekend. Let's say a quick hello to some of the folks watching. My mom is watching from Hastings on Hudson, New York. Mom, always great to have you watch the show. Thank you. And we have Patricia Freudenberg watching, offering grace and greetings from New York. Pradnya is watching from Silver Spring, Maryland, not far from where I am in Springfield, Virginia, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those who may not know. Pradnya acknowledges that my mom was the first to sign on. She's the first to comment, and I will say, it's sometimes Patricia, sometimes John Borstein, who is offering greetings from the East Village. So we have various people who get that first comment title. And Doug Levy is watching from Northern California. And Rhode Island, we have Naomi Service watching as well. It's a gorgeous day. It is. It absolutely is. It's going to get really hot, at least in Washington, D.C., over the next several days. Let's go ahead and bring on my co-host, Srinivasan. Sri, welcome.
Hi, Neil. Greetings to everyone. I am in New York City, but I'm drinking from my Foreign Correspondents Club of Hong Kong mug, founded in 1943. It's a beautiful spot in Hong Kong where journalists and others gather every year. And I had the honor of being there this year and speaking. And I welcome everybody to the New York Times Read Along. Thank you for being here. We do this on Sundays. We've been doing this for 10 years. A special shout out to everyone watching on the channels of scroll.in, one of India's biggest, most important websites. And we get thousands of people watching there as well. Hello to all who care about the news. Hello to all who care about fighting misinformation and disinformation in this very important time. There's so much to go through in the news. We have lots to talk about, and we want to get your comments. Tell us where you're watching from. I see Ken Fisher is watching from Iowa. Hi, Ken. Welcome. I see Mukul Pandya is watching from parts of New Jersey, near Philadelphia. Thank you, Mukul. Great partner and friend of ours. Miriam Berkeley is watching from Hell's Kitchen, where there's a major food festival today, as there was yesterday. It's more community-based than many street festivals. And Ellen's watching from the Upper East Side. And we also have Abu Tahir watching. Abu is the leading Bangladeshi American journalist. He runs multiple media outlets, Neil, that do so much for the Bangladeshi community and the broader South Asian community. He was written about and profiled in the New York Times when he got to go to the 2008 Democratic National Convention that was, of course, the Barack Obama first convention. Stephen Kaplan is watching. He says, hope everyone is enjoying this beautiful weather on my way to another great day at Photoville in Brooklyn, on the Brooklyn waterfront. You've never been you must come down. Some incredibly powerful work from photographers around the world. So please do check out what Stefan and everyone else is doing out there at Photoville. Neil, we've had a busy weekend here at the Srinivasan home. We had a birthday party for my friend and professor, Peter Herford, and people came from around the country to celebrate Peter. A 90-year-old man's birthday is usually at his home or nearby his home. He, in fact, decided to fly out here. He said, you'll come to Seattle for my funeral, so let me come to New York. He drove himself to the airport and then flew out here, and we just had the best time. So happy birthday, Peter. He's in earshot. He's staying with us. I would have had him come on the show, but I didn't want to disturb him so early in the morning. As you know, it's super early. I see other folks are watching as well. Ellen says, hopefully all care about the news, and rightfully and clearly right now we need that. So thank you, Ellen, for watching and your support of everything we do. Pradnya says, how long have you been tuning into the read along? My kids are now old enough to kick me out of the kitchen because they are making breakfast. Joe, just go watch the Uncle Sri show. She says it's now the Uncle Sri and Uncle Neil show. And Naomi says, our wonderful friend and New York Times translator during the Iraq War is visiting from Virginia. How cool is that? But I also want to tell you, Neil, that there is another thing that we're doing today. We are I'm sharing a shot of a birthday party for another dear friend, a little younger, but someone who has huge impact around the country, around the world. His name is Hemant Wadhwani, and he's the biggest do-gooder that people don't know because he's behind the scenes working to help people for nothing but just the fact that he can help folks, including feeding the homeless in Harlem for dozens of years and doing so much more and helping journalists as well. So Hemant, a big happy birthday. Neil, we were going to have about 20 people, we thought. More than 100 people are showing up for lunch today to celebrate Hemant. People are flying in. By the way, a tip for anyone planning a surprise, this was what it was. He called me on Wednesday saying, Sri, I can't make it to that speaker event you're hosting on Sunday because I'm ill. So we had to call an audible, as they say in football, and reveal to him that there are people coming. So about 20 people. And he was kind of, 20, he was, of course, very grateful, but he was like, 20 people, maybe we can reschedule. We said, no, we have 100 people coming. Your best friend's flying in from Puerto Rico. Your sister's flying in from St. Thomas. People coming from all over. You've got to get better. So we said, if you have to put you in a hazmat suit, we will. but we are not going to need to do that. Hemant, happy birthday. Looking forward to seeing you later this morning. Neil, so much going on in the news.
The drawing?
Yeah, that's really nice, right? So I should have led with that's a AI rendition. Gemini does that. Google Photos offers this now on almost all photos. If you have a paid account on Google, which many people do, you can do all kinds of things. It looks so real. The problem with this compared to AI slop, as we say, Neil, is that this is hard to distinguish because what they call these blue pen drawings, which are very common on the internet by people who work very hard and do it so beautifully, they look sort of like this, Neil, right? It's kind of hard to tell that this is made by AI, not made by a human being when you compare it to something that a human might do. And that's where we start to see the issues around AI in a new light. And but this is not to denigrate the great work that people do when they're doing it by hand, and we can continue to talk about that. I see Mary C. Curtis is with us. Hi, Mary. She's watching. And you got this.
I wanted to catch up. I was trying to catch up to you, Sri. You mentioned Peter Herford. That's him behind, I believe, over Walter Cronkite's shoulder. I think you please share the story behind this, because I think that's incredibly poignant.
So thank you. One of the most important moments on broadcast history was when Walter Cronkite broke into The Days of Our Lives, the TV show, on November 22nd, 1963, to announce the shooting first of President Kennedy and then the death of President Kennedy. A young Peter Herford was standing behind him working on the wire, the AP wire, to get the latest bulletins. So first he says he's been shot. Peter hands him the piece of paper that says he is been assassinated. And Walter Cronkite, in this amazing moment, pulls off his glasses and says, the president has died 38 minutes ago. And Peter is part of that living history we have in our circles. And we're so grateful to Peter, who has been there in moments like this. And by the way, he was interviewed at the program and he was asked, what was your best moment, worst moment, all of this. For a 90-year-old, you think he would have those kinds of things ready to go. And he didn't. He said he doesn't think like that. He doesn't think what is the best, what is the worst. He just goes and says yes to everything and is an eternal optimist. So that's Peter Herford for you folks. And thank you all for watching with us today as we celebrate journalism, news, and journalists, much more than just the New York Times. And this is that story. Neil, you're so good. He pulls up the story of Abu Tayyar in 2008, profiled in the New York Times for being able to go to the Democratic National Convention. Neil, this was that famous one with the Greco-Roman columns behind Obama. You remember that? That was kind of fun. Let's see, some folks are watching. Mary C. Curtis says, good morning from Charlotte. Welcome, Mary, great friend of the show. We warned everybody in the piece stories we did just in the days before the elections in 2024 about what's to come, and all of that's become real. Mary says, wonderful performance at the Charlotte Symphony last night. That featured a piece that tackled affordable housing crisis and a chorus of folks who are or have experienced homelessness. Very inspiring. Thank you. Patricia says, happy birthday, Peter. Deborah Kerr's watching from Fort Lauderdale. And Ellen says, go to the 9th Avenue Food Festival. I was there yesterday. It's going to be back today. And Rini Singh says, I love that there's something like this channel. This is my first time attending. Super excited, listening from Jaipur. Welcome. And look forward to meeting you in Jaipur at the Jaipur Literature Festival, which is in January 14th to 18th in Jaipur. That is the mothership of what's now called JLF USA. It's going to be in 6 cities in the US this September and October. JLFLitFest.org. Everyone should go check it out. JLFLitFest.org. And it will also be in Canada. So it'll be in New York, Houston, Boulder, Colorado, Raleigh, North Carolina, as well as in Seattle. And then they're adding Los Angeles this year as well. So September, October, please come out to everything at JLF USA and check out the JLF Lit Fest in Jaipur, where Oprah went and loved it and called it the greatest literary show on earth. Who else is here? John says,
before we leave, Rini, I just want to mention, Rini, if this is your first time watching, feel free to send me an email, neil@digimentors.group. We can add you to our mailing list so you get a notification about upcoming episodes and links to special articles and PDFs that we're able to put on our website. You'll be able to find links to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube in case you want to watch it on a different channel. So just want to make sure Rini and anyone else who's new got that, Sri.
Thank you. John says, kind of sums up why I don't like surprise events when Hemant's celebration today might have not worked if you don't have the main person there. And Neil is linked to the Abu Tahir story. Prashant says hello and says, great to see you from KL, Kuala Lumpur. Prashant, welcome. We love that people are watching around the world. I don't know if we got a chance to say hello to Doug Levy, who's watching at 5:30 a.m. California time. He's an early riser. And look what Deborah is doing. She's tagging people. Tag them right now. They can join us live or later when we talk about the newspaper. We have a physical newspaper here. Neil does too. And John asks, when will JLF be in New York City? It'll be September 29th and 30th in New York City. And Deb is tagging Vanessa and Andy. Snehalata is watching. Namaste from Mumbai in India. Welcome, Snehalata. We're so happy to have you here. And Rini's asking for your email address, which she found on, she's already found. And it's Neil@Digimentors and Sri@Digimentors. And Pradnya just tagged Rini. Let's get to the paper, Neil. We're so grateful to everyone who's watching. And
we do want to give a shout out to Stefan, though. Missed him earlier. Hope everyone is enjoying this beautiful weather. That's right. You mentioned Photoville earlier, and Ellen and Pradnya. Good. Just making sure we give everyone a shout out.
Yes.
The paper, Sri. What's in the paper?
The paper. Let's see what are the headlines. This says, "My Family's American Secret." This is the story of how one fateful decision 100 years ago created parallel lives and unfolded across generations. Susan Saulney's piece, and you have a special thing for us.
Yes. So we have a gift link on our website. You can get to it by going to tinyurl.com, NYT Family Secret. That's tinyurl.com, NYT Family Secret. And we not only the gift link, but a PDF of the layout. Sri, it's 4 pages inside in the middle of the, 4 pages and no ads. I mean, I think that's, this is a special article, and they gave a lot of real estate for it. The basic outline, and it's an incredible story where several generations ago, 2 brothers who were in New Orleans were in an orphanage, and when they aged out, they moved out on their own. One moved to Chicago, one stayed in New Orleans. The one who moved to Chicago was able to pass as white. This is several generations ago. So you literally have 2 branches of the family that have experienced have the American experience from different racial perspectives. Everything that we know about the history of race in America playing out in this one family. If you think about everything from Jim Crow to housing discrimination to job discrimination, one family was white, one family was black. Just incredible story. And it's a New York Times reporter. It took a year to do this research and tell her family's story. Absolutely fascinating. You can see some of the pages inside.
Amazing. Neil, everyone should go to digimentors.group, look for the read along button, and then go to this episode, and there you can download the PDF.
The tiny URL. If you go straight to tinyurl.com, NYT Family Secret, it'll take you right there to that page. And hat tip to our good friend Wayne Camadoy at the New York Times, the New York Times art director, for sharing that PDF with us. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. So couple of thoughts on this entire thing here.
Please.
One is that there are newspapers, hundreds of newspapers have closed over the last few years, and that's a tragedy. And we are seeing that there are publications that are able to survive and thrive. The New York Times is just one of them, the Wall Street Journal and others. The Washington Post was thriving until Bezos decided to inject his politics into this. As you know, it started with hundreds of thousands of subscribers canceling when he decided to pull an endorsement of Kamala Harris from the paper just days before the election. So the fact that the Times can send a reporter and spend an entire year reporting the story, I'm sure it'll turn into a book, it'll become a movie, all kinds of things are going to happen. We've got to acknowledge that whether the luck of where you end up working decides your fate in journalism, right? So there are wonderful reporters who work at the New York Times and wonderful reporters who work elsewhere who, by the luck of where they ended up, don't have jobs now. You heard the story of, and I met this person's colleague. She said, my boss was a wonderful reporter. Now he drives DoorDash because he just can't get a job opportunity as a journalist of a certain age. So you just think about that as you're thinking about journalism. And so this is why we say this is not about the New York Times. This is about supporting journalism. So subscribe to a newspaper somewhere in the world, folks. It makes a difference at a time when facts matter, journalism matters. The other thing I want to reflect on for a second is that you know, Neil, that I cycle everywhere now, partly for health, partly because I'm far away from the subway, partly because the traffic is so bad here. And I wear a helmet, and I urge everybody who drives to wear a helmet, cycles to wear a helmet, wherever you are in the world. And carrying that helmet with me makes, I experience class in America with that helmet, because people see me with the helmet and immediately presume I'm a delivery boy. Nothing wrong with that, obviously, but then they direct me to the back, to the side entrance, to the courier's reception without even asking, where are you going, sir? They do it. It's a reflex. People of all races do it, colors do it. And I just think about this family. I've not even read the story and I'm emotional about it. This family, Neil, just say it again if people have just joined us.
Sure. And so the description of the article, this is my family's American secret. And several generations ago, I think it was, if I remember correctly, early 1900s, there were two boys who were in an orphanage in New Orleans. And as they aged out and then went on, you know, they left the orphanage, one moved up to Chicago and one stayed in New Orleans. And they never talked with each other after that. The one who moved to Chicago passed as white. And so his whole family, that line of the family, had lived the American experience being white, whereas the other side of the family was black. And if you think about everything that happened over the last 100 years in terms of Jim Crow, in terms of discrimination, in terms of housing discrimination, jobs, everything, it played out in this one family in very different ways. And the fact that the New York Times allowed one of its reporters to take a year to research this family history is pretty incredible.
Yeah, tinyurl.com/NYT family secret. Please get it. Please get on Neil's mailing list so you'll get all these PDFs. Even if you can't watch the show, every week we do have one, you'll get the PDF. Otherwise, you can also hear what's happening. So again, just to be clear, this is Edward, eventually followed a well-worn corridor north to Chicago, where he lived as a white man. And George, whose skin was slightly darker, stayed behind in New Orleans and rarely spoke of Edward. And if I had just read this without knowing the colors, Neil, as you know, the Great Migration, as it's called, Black folks leaving the South, moving to the North.
You would have thought.
And we had that incredible episode with Charles Blow of the New York Times, who has started a movement asking Black folks to move down to the South and affect the political demographics of the South.
But with the Supreme Court's voting rights decision, I mean, I don't know that's. I mean, I'd really be curious to see what Charles is thinking right now. I'd have to look it up to see what he's written about that, because
Sure.
I don't see how that makes sense in terms of that return to the South.
Yeah. Let's see who else is watching. Doug says this is the best time of the day, 5:30 in the morning for him, and the best hour of the week for News Junkies. Thank you so much, Doug. We appreciate your support and everybody who watches us every week. Amy says good morning, and Ellen says Alice Mason was a famous, celebrated woman in New York City real estate who also passed for white. Fantastic story with her too. And Mary Curtis says Pope Leo's mother's family moved from New Orleans as mulatto to Chicago and into whiteness, which is why Black Catholics, I am one, call him Pope Leon instead of Leo. Leon being a typical African American name. And wow, Mary, thank you for sharing that, Pope Leon.
And there's also the very well-known movie Anthony Hopkins did several years ago, which actually traces the same story about passing as white and living his life that way. The name escapes me at the moment.
Well, I know a producer who can find that very quickly. So let's see here. Fund proposed to compensate allies of Trump. This is the corruption we were talking about. A $1.7 billion being set aside to compensate people who are investigated by Biden, criminals and others who are investigated by Biden are going to get $1.7 billion. That's money that we don't have for schools, healthcare, infrastructure, but we do have it for this. We have it for the war. We have it for things that no one asked for. And that's the grift that we are seeing. Trump's push for friendship is unrequited. Seeking bond with Xi, but getting little back is the headline in the New York Times. Volley of talks fails to prevent LIRR strike. That's the Long Island Railroad, which is on strike today and fighting for benefits, of course, as unions do. How a nature cruise turned into a nightmare. Uncertainty and fear amid an outbreak of a lethal virus. This is the hantavirus outbreak that took place on this ship called the Honduras. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. A couple of thoughts here, and I want to hear from folks. Would you go on a cruise again? Have you been on a cruise? Would you go again? I've been 3 times on a cruise. I loved it, but after the pandemic, I said I wouldn't. And now, you see this again. And this is not a giant ship. This is relatively small compared to the ones that have thousands of people on it. So people jump in here and tell us if you've been on a cruise. Would you go again? But one thing that has happened with this, unlike every other crisis of cruise ships, is we don't know the name of the operator of the vessel the way we always hear. It's a Carnival Cruise Line, it's a Holland America, it's a Royal Caribbean that's in distress or in trouble. Somehow the name of this operator, because maybe they're not American, isn't as well known.
So a couple of thoughts, Sri, and just I'll point out, you mentioned the President Trump's trip to China. We have a gift link to the photos and video from his trip on our website. So again, you can find that, as Sri was mentioning, go to digimentors.group, NYT/NYTReadalong, and find today's episode 396. As far as the cruise ship is concerned, Sri, my personal experience, Pam and I actually did do a cruise for our honeymoon many years ago. I think we're pushing on 24 years ago now. But there are 2 thoughts. One, I know that Pam doesn't want to go on another cruise ship, not because of the virus after COVID specifically, but I think there are other stories about cruise ships where their pump systems failed and it became just a mess on the cruise. But I do want to raise this issue, Sri, and I've seen several pieces. I think it's from either one of the better news sources around, called Bear Report, called The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Mm-hmm. They talk about the coverage of this cruise ship and the impact, right? The number of people who've been infected, who've been impacted by the virus. There may be, at the time, there was all this coverage. 3 people might be infected. 1 person is showing symptoms. it seemed like, I mean, the point they were making is that it was being blown out of proportion, that this is not a pandemic, and that the way that this is spread, that the person who, patient zero, effectively, on one of the ports of call, actually, and again, this is what was reported, that they visited the town dump. And you get hantavirus by getting, exposed to rats and pigeons and droppings and stuff like that. Like, just to, like, how they got it. It's not something that's going to be spread very easily. It's not like COVID. It's not like other pandemics. So I think there's a question about how the media has responded and whether or not it's a valid concern.
The way I would see it is, I think anytime now that we've learned, anytime there is some kind of virus that's spreading, people want to pay attention to it. This also combines with elite holiday makers and things like that. And so there's some of that as well, though Carnival Cruises and others are priced to attract the masses, not just the very rich. The other part of this is just overnight, the WHO has issued an alert for Ebola, because there have been 88 cases and many deaths with Ebola because of Ebola, but they're not declared a pandemic. They've not declared it, but they have said this is an emergency. So we can look up the official wording of what it says, and these are terms. These are scientific terms that mean specific things. You'll remember, Neil, that in March of 2020, there was immense attention paid to when it was declared from an emergency all the way to a pandemic. And there were questions of when these things should be done. My worry above everything else is that with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in charge and others who are in charge of the America's healthcare system, that we are less ready, less prepared than we were in 2020 for anything. Not that there's anything of that level now, but I done a story in my newsletter called "Unserious People in Charge of Serious Jobs," and that's what we have across the entire bureaucracy of America. And one of the things that Trump said he would do is come in and make America healthy again, but I would argue that he has made everything worse in this as well as everything else, and that is very, very frustrating about that. And Jon Stewart takes aim at media coverage of hantavirus, you said.
That's what I had seen. It wasn't Stephen Colbert. It was Monday night with Jon Stewart showing all the coverage from last weekend and just saying that effectively it was overblown. So that was, Jon Stewart for you.
So you mentioned Stephen Colbert, so I'm going to do a little plug for our newsletter. The newsletter is srinet.substack.com, and I'm in the middle of writing mine for today. We are going to talk about my pre-diabetic life. It's a new vertical that we've launched. We're launching today on the srinet.substack.com. It's because I've been diagnosed as pre-diabetic. It's the only diagnosis, or maybe one of the few diagnoses, that you can get as a middle-aged man that is reversible. So I'm going to publicly document how I'm using AI, expert advice, and some luck to beat back pre-diabetes and diabetes itself. With luck, you'll be able to follow me on my journey. So I invite you all to join. But the reason I mentioned Colbert is that this is Stephen Colbert's final week of the Late Show on CBS, and to mark that moment and to also discuss the MJ movie, the Michael Jackson film, I'm going to have Christopher J. Farley, the great entertainment reporter, writer of Time, formerly with Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and other places. He's going to join me in a live Substack for my readers of the newsletter. So please join us. It's free and available. Any subscriber can get it. And just subscribe to srinet.substack.com. It's going to be on this coming Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, the recording will be available. And I'm trying to understand, Neil, we had a great conversation about Michael Jackson's movie a few weeks ago on the show. Have you seen it yet? The question is, should you see it? How do you separate the art from the artist?
So in terms of the comments I shared last time, I have no interest in seeing the movie. And I do have very strong feelings about that question about the art and the artist. In this case specifically, Michael Jackson and the allegations around sexual abuse and pedophilia. I think that the larger question is really, how far do you extend that distinction in terms of I think there's a parallel around politics. If you don't like a company's politics, okay, you don't need to shop there, you don't need to support it. But when you're talking about big corporations that will give millions of dollars to both sides, are you going to stop using all of the products that come out of Procter and Gamble, for example, or
Target? There's a big boycott that was happening of Target.
Yeah. In the entertainment world, Harvey Weinstein, right? All of the movies that he produced, all of everything that comes from that production house. So I think, at least in my mind, not only does the person who is being singled out, who targeted, has to have a very clear kind of allegation and or conviction around sexual abuse, but also they have to be central to the movie or to the piece or the book that you're talking about. I don't know. I think it'd be hard to boycott everything that person touched, right? I don't know of Michael Jackson as a songwriter, but we talked about songwriters a few weeks ago. If he was a songwriter and 10 different artists have produced his songs, would you actually figure out which songs that he wrote and then not listen to them as well? I think but I do feel strongly about that you can you can't separate art from the artist. We have several comments here. I want to you were talking about the cruise ship. Several people answered your question in terms of what they would do. Patricia said, I've gone on after a pandemic a couple of times. It's the name you trust. I had amazing experiences. Deborah says, best to know the operator and its cleaning practices. Now it handles illnesses on board. We have had good experiences on several ones, including Lindblad Antarctica. We did a show with Deborah actually last year about her Antarctica cruise. And she says RFK Jr. eliminated the group of inspectors who safety check cruise ships. So that's interesting. But I want to make sure that we get Sujana's comment, Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar, who is a good friend of ours. And Sujana, I have to thank you for some references you gave me over the weekend. But she says there are different types of hantaviruses. The danger of the cruise ship strain was both how strong it is and how far from healthcare you are in a cruise ship. Those are very good points. But yes, blown out of proportion and whipping people into a frenzy, maybe to distract from the Epstein files, Trump's illegal war on Iran. So it's an interesting perspective from the good doctor. Sri, did you have a thought on that?
Yeah. I'll just say SNL last night was Saturday Night Live's opening sketch was Jeffrey Epstein's ghost coming to visit Donald Trump in the Oval Office. It was played by Will Ferrell, by the way, very well. And the line in there that's so true among many things is that he says, no matter all the distractions you create, Mr. President, we will always be besties and our names will be linked together forever. And that kind of captures the spirit of what has been happening. These distractions, there's definitely efforts to have these distractions. Going back to just to mention to everyone that our newsletter and things like the read along, which we do as a labor of love, are supported by ads and sponsors. So we'd love to talk to you about sponsoring either the read along or the newsletter or both. So thank you if you can do that. Just email Neil at digimentors.group Sri@digimentors.group. So I want to do a little ad here, Neil. I have it queued up for our really important new opportunity for you to study with Jay Dixit, the great writer and OpenAI's first community ambassador for writing. He has left OpenAI and now is able to talk about other products as well. But he has a coaching class, a 6-week master class on finishing that project that you've been delaying finishing, whether it's a book proposal, a magazine article, anything that you want done, a business plan. He will help you using AI. He called it the Socratic AI Intensive, 24/7 writing coach to help you finish what you start. And it starts Monday, tomorrow, and it goes through June 22nd. And there's a special deal that you can get for this because you're going to use the Digimentors link and code. You're going to use that. So Neil has put together a URL that he can share with us. Yep. So that people can find this. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I'll get that URL for you in just a moment.
Yeah, so I can tell folks it's tinyurl.com/Socratic Masterclass. Yeah. tinyurl.com/Socratic Masterclass. You go in there, you get 15% off this course and 15% of everything at Narratively, the company that he's collaborating with, and my friend Noah runs that. So use the Digimentors code at tinyurl.com/Socratic Masterclass. So please sign up for that. And Jay is a wonderful teacher. He's been a professor at Yale and other places as well. So srinet.substack.com. And to everyone who has bought a subscription, paid to upgrade, if you can afford to do that, we are truly grateful. But our main content will always remain free and available because we do this for you. We do this read along for you, and we do the Sunday note also for you. All right, let's keep going here. Sunday opinion cover, Neil, is when you see only the nose of something, you're not sure what this is. So you have to flip it over and see that this is China's soft power play. Soft power play or soft power play. I'm not sure how they intended it. Trump summit with Xi reveals a weakened America. A Chinese century? I don't see it, says Ross Douthat. He's a conservative writer, Trump apologist many times. He'll claim he's not. But I wrote a column, Neil, a newsletter, as you know. I said the white guy confidence of Ross Douthat. He's wrong a lot, and he's wrong on this. It is the Chinese century. The people of the U.S. and China face a shared precarious feature, says Yi Ling Lu. So that should be an interesting piece. The Sunday business cover is Move Fast and Teach Things. That's a play on Move Fast and Break Things, which is the bro code of people, tech bro code of people like Elon and Mark Zuckerberg. And it says, OpenAI and Khan Academy made a chatbot in the classroom. What can we learn? Oh, that's interesting. Their combination, Sal Khan, who I've gotten to know, is an amazing person whose Khan Academy has changed the world and has done so much for the world. So he's teamed up with OpenAI. Let's see here. Battle to make AI safer is testing a new legal strategy, and that's going to be interesting to read as well. And the corner office column is Richard Dixon is using a familiar playbook to help the Gap regain its cultural cachet. When is the last time you went to a Gap, Neil, or anyone else?
I'm not a Gap shopper, as most people can probably tell. It's just not my style. But I do want to mention the several articles about AI, Sri. If you go back to the opinion section, Maureen Dowd has a very interesting column in this week's paper. What AI can't do. Kant being a K-A-N-T for Immanuel Kant. And it's an interesting piece that looks at the return to liberal arts and humanities in terms of a focus. If you look at a lot of the tech world has focused on STEAM and engineering, etc. And effectively, it seems like AI can replicate and handle most of the the STEAM type skills that people were pushing over the last several years. What it can't do is replicate the humanities background that people can get from a liberal arts education. And what a lot of tech leaders are saying, that we need people who can care and have empathy. AI can't do that just yet. They can make you feel good about yourself, but that's a little different than empathy. Something to think about.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important. Deborah Kerr says you have to realize that people went back on airplanes and to their homes and maybe carrying the disease with them. There are 14 states of possible cases, people self-quarantined or at facilities, and then people who willfully don't participate, and people who unwillingly do that as well. By the way, that's Peter Herford. Peter, you're in the shot again.
I was going to say
the Walter Cronkite moment one more time. There is Peter. And Peter,
very similar.
Say hi to everyone.
If he hands you, Sri, if he hands you a piece of paper, he can recreate that.
I'm part of this listening, watching in Seattle. So here I am in New York with Sri's marvelous hospitality and a heck of a gathering last night of friends and family. Fascinating. Discipline is remarkable of this man. I asked him, how long you've been doing this? 10 years. Wow. I feel privileged to watch the action actually happen live. I'm also embarrassed by my own sloth, if you will, of having the choice of, this is too early, I'm going to go back to bed. So thanks for the experience. I'm learning. That's the main thing.
One of the things we got him, Neil, was this collection of things about the year 1936, where the year he was born. People born that year: Pope Francis, Wilt Chamberlain, John McCain, Buddy Holly, Burt Reynolds, and Peter Herford. Now, in my mind, they're not the same age because we lost some at different ages.
Yeah,
Buddy
right.
Holly will always be in his 20s. I think it was 17. Yeah. I forget what age in which he died. It was, right. I may have been Richie Valens, who was 17 when he died, but Buddy Holly died with him in that plane that became the song American Pie. Burt Reynolds, to me, is a playboy like this guy. So he has a girlfriend in every port. Wilt Chamberlain had a child and a woman in every port like him. No children that we know of.
No.
He has 2 beautiful daughters, but that's a different story. And then Pope Francis, who also, in my mind, is not the same age as him because he has retired and not participating. Yeah. Peter is participating in life in full, as they say. The slang in 1936 was moolah for money, bucker for cowboy, slip me a 5 for shake hands.
Sure.
Wow, slip me a 5 for shake hands. And giggle juice is alcohol. And a dozen eggs was 37 cents. A pound of bread was 8 cents. A pound of bacon was 47 cents. A pound of steak was 34 cents. And a half gallon of milk, 24 cents. And the world champions, Neil, you would be happy to know, it was in fact the New York Yankees.
36, of course.
The NFL, the Green Bay Packers were good again.
Yep.
And the American Basketball League champions were the Philadelphia Sphas. I don't know what that is. SPHAS. I guess that was the name of a team. And the Stanley Cup champions were the Detroit Red Wings. Right. The big songs were Pennies from Heaven, which I know from Bing Crosby, and Billie Holiday's Summertime, and Benny Goodman's Goody Goody. And the president was the great Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who did so much for this country, for the world. I will just show you before I get Neil's reaction to all of this. What you're seeing there is the East River, the UN headquarters, and Roosevelt Island. So we just mentioned Roosevelt. And at the end of Roosevelt Island, there's something new, Neil. It's the Four Freedoms Park, named after the 4 freedoms that he championed. So you're seeing that right there with Cornell Tech, the new university branch right here on the river. Neil, your thoughts on all of this?
A quick thought. First of all, Peter, pleasure to see you on the screen. I heard obviously so much about you from Sri. One correction, if I may, Sri. I'm glad that he is not similar to Pope Francis at all. Pope Francis passed away a few years ago, Sri. So just want to correct
I didn't
the
realize that. So
record
Pope
on that.
Francis, because Pope Leo's only been
Yeah.
with us for a short time, so I'm
Right.
surprised
Yeah.
it's been a few years since
Yeah.
he passed. So
Yeah, it was well, not a few years. It was last year, April
Okay.
21st, 2025.
Last thing I will
But-
show you, and I'll let this man go back to sleep. Maybe
No.
that's my photo with Walter Cronkite and the man that America trusted.
Well,
You 2 minutes on Walter Cronkite and what we have lost at CBS. CBS, as we know, is now run by Barry Weiss, run by Larry Ellison and his son. And by the way, one of his students, my classmate, Neeraj Kimlani, grew up to become president of CBS News before Barry Weiss. So quick thoughts on that.
My 1,000 memories when you work for Walter. God bless him. He thought enough of me as a writer to hire me, and that's how I began with him. And we, together with two others, began the half-hour news at CBS, plunging into an area that didn't exist. News then on the networks was 15 minutes. We did not have any idea of where this would go. Best example was that the program was not fully sponsored when it first went on the air. So that kind of thing existed. The great success of CBS News in the early days, very simple. It was considered separate from CBS Television, CBS Inc. The wise people who set it up and sponsored it, of course, Bill Paley, Frank Stanton, a remarkable pair of leaders, had the foresight and the intelligence to understand that if you're going to do news and you're going to run a commercial operation like a television network with entertainment programs and relying on sponsorship, don't mix them. Don't mix them. Anybody over the age of 21 who can remember back knows how important, how absolutely critical that has been.
Thank you. Thank you. Before you go, I just want to show Neil, we've queued it up, the moment with Walter Cronkite, with Peter in the background. You can pull that up here, and what people will see is, let me just go full screen on that. Let's hope that works. Oops. Neil, is it in full screen now? Because now
it's in full screen. You have the rest of the living history stuff.
Okay, good.
Here's full screen.
Yeah. So what this is that's Peter in the back. Walter Cronkite has already announced the shooting, and Peter is now going to tear out the bulletin that he is dead and hand it to Walter Cronkite, who will then announce the president dead. He takes off his glasses and then says, even he was very careful. He said,
yes,
the news apparently confirmed the president of the United States is dead. Like, even at that moment, he has it in writing. He has it, but he took that. He wanted to be absolutely clear. And what you're seeing here is the living history that is Peter. And I interviewed him on the daily COVID show that we did 300 days in a row. We did episodes during the pandemic. And one of those days I had Peter on, and we played this clip. He had never seen this angle and noticed that he was in it. And that's him at that moment, Neil, pointing and saying, "That's me." And that is so special. I'd always thought he was hiding under the table and handing him stuff, but here he is over my shoulder, and there he is over the shoulder.
Is that a video screen, or do you have? Is that just the screenshot?
No, I have the video, and we can play that towards the end, maybe. One more thing I will show, and this is AI, and this I think will interest our viewers. I had Claude watch 4 hours of Peter's comments and thoughts on work and life and everything else. And then I asked it to distill the lessons for life, work, and put that together. And there are certain parameters I was to give it, saying only take things out of the videos, for example, to prevent it from making up stuff. And it did all of this, Neil, every single thing here. I only adjusted a little bit the angles and the spacing, but everything you see here was generated by Claude, including the thing up there, which said 6 decades in journalism. We only added Saigon because he was a Saigon bureau chief. We added that there. Everything else in Minneapolis, maybe those 2 things we added.
Wow.
Everything else was done by Claude and put together, including putting that quote, media matters more than it did before. Simple reason, there's more of it. It pervades absolutely everything. It even put PH like that. And it distilled from interviews on Peter Herford's YouTube playlist, tinyurl.com/HerfordYT. It did all of this. And by the way, it also put in 7 M dashes. And I want to say that I love the M dash, and I'm upset that that everybody's saying one way to tell something is AI is if there's an M dash. Hey, I use the M dash. And but one of the things, Neil, we have to do is when you create something, you have to acknowledge how it's made, what it's made by,
yes,
whether AI or human. So, Peter, thank you so much. We're just going to wrap up the show here. I'm going to look at that.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, fine. See you from Seattle.
Thank you.
I will say, Sri, when we first, and Peter's in the background now, you were sitting in the chair. Peter was back there walking toward you. I thought he was going to hand you a piece of paper to make an announcement and recreate the famous Walter Cronkite.
Oh my God, I'm not that creative. I should have thought of that. That'd be cool. All right, we only have
what I saw happening.
Well, first, before we go, before we just want to acknowledge
comments,
including Monique Lewis, who's
yes,
says, "Happy Sunday, great to be here. I'm interested in sponsorship ad options." Thank you, Monique. And Monique is on LinkedIn. So Neil, we'll
reach out
and reach
absolutely.
out. Thank you. Neil@digimentors.org group. Sorry, Neil@digimentors.group. And John Lee says the course sounds interesting. Please go and check out the Narratively course on the masterclass. It's 6 weeks. It starts tomorrow. So here's your chance to get it.
tinyurl.com Socratic AI Masterclass. tinyurl.com Socratic AI Masterclass. John, I'll follow up with you as well.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for being here. Pradnya says Michael Jackson is still prominent in the exhibit about the 80s at the National Museum of African-American Heritage, History, of course. And Sujana says, my cousin's wife wrote a wonderful book called Ease, the Opposite of Disease. Wow. After her labs went awry, she's a brilliant MD to reverse that with a diet. It's great. Maitri Shankar, MD. As I do my work on my pre-diabetic life, I'm going to reach out to you, Sujana, and talk to you. We're just going to quickly, Neil, just glance at the other headlines from the different sections. Sunday Styles cover is the essence of Frida Kahlo. Beyond Kitsch, a visual dictionary lays out the painter's signature iconography amid a renewed surge of interest in her. Should be special. That's the Sunday Styles. The magazine cover, look at this. Wow, look at this is very striking. It says, murky waters. 2 decades after his wife drowned, a legendary free diver sued Netflix, claiming it portrayed him as her murderer. Would the truth ever surface? By Chris Pomorsky. So that's that. Let's see here. The book cover is Mississippi Yearning. In Catherine Sackett's prodigious second novel, The Calamity Club, a group of Depression-era spinsters, sex workers, and orphans form a kind of family, and that's a play. Mississippi Yearning is a play, of course, on Mississippi Burning, which was also an important movie. Let's see what else I can tell you. Oh, tell us about the cooking section. Only available to subscribers in this print edition, but the only way you can get a PDF for this, if you're not a subscriber, even if you're a subscriber, you won't get a PDF of the New York Times, is if, Neil, what do you do?
Yep, if you go to our website, and you can go to this tinyurl.com, tiny URL that we've set up for you. It's tinyurl.com NYT Summer Cooking. tinyurl.com/NYT Summer Cooking. We have the PDF for that cooking special, 24 recipes for summer from the New York Times. I certainly encourage you to check that out. Sri, I also want to make sure that folks...
24 reasons to cook this summer.
Reasons to cook. The other thing I want to make sure folks saw was we talked about there's a big article about RFK Jr. and his war on mental health care. My guess is it's going to be in the magazine next week. It's advertised as being part of the magazine, but we have a gift link to the article on our website, and wanted to make sure people know about what they're doing in terms of questioning the efficacy of very basic drugs that people have used for a number of years to help with anxiety and depression, and also questioning psychiatry in general. So this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and for RFK Jr. to be questioning the very underpinnings of basic psychiatry and psychotherapy, again, as an advocate for mental health care and mental health awareness, just another reason to wonder what the hell is going on in this person's mind. How much
the brain,
more? How
the
much
brain worm is going on. That's what we know. That
the brain
There's a
worm.
dead worm. If you haven't heard, I think everyone has heard by now.
How much can he undermine in our society? So I want to make sure that folks saw we do have a gift link to that article on our website, and I'll put it on the screen as well. It's the strange alliance between trying to remake American psychiatry, and we want to encourage people to check that out.
Thank you, Neil, and everyone check out his show, Shining Light on Shadows, that Neil does twice a month with Don. Amazing work and so important. So thank you, Neil, for doing that. There's the show, the importance of self-care. That's the episode. Go ahead, Neil.
That was the episode we did this last Thursday. The importance of self-care. We had two great coaches on, Dr. Ellen Albertson and Candace Sanchez. Some very basic ideas, Sri, and a lot of people, I think, and myself included, think of self-care as like a large. You're doing self-care in terms of looking at your health with the pre-diabetes diagnosis and what you're going to do for that. But self-care can also be very basic. During the show, Ellen Albertson walked us through just taking a deep breath. Just the power. Of slowing things down and stopping for just a moment makes a huge difference. So I want to encourage people to think about that during Mental Health Awareness Month.
Thank you. Before we have some great comments, we're going to read them just quickly. The travel section is now in this format, I guess, the New York Times Style magazine, as they occasionally do travel stuff as well. So the Prince's Journey, following the long and twisting path of Buddhism through Nepal, Thailand, and Taiwan. That, of course, is the story of Siddhartha, the prince who then gave up everything to become Gautama Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. Metropolitan cover, a city of dreams and cloudy futures. For many young adults, a bleak job market and sky-high rents are making their lives in New York seem unfeasible. And that's really, really sad, because New York's energy doesn't come from all the billionaires that people are worried about will leave New York. It comes from every strata of society, and it comes especially from the young people who move here and are able to live here. The hole-in-the-wall store that dressed hip-hop, H&R Hosiery in the Bronx, which shaped street fashion, was forced to close. Real estate cover is weekend getaways that you can take out of New York, I guess. And then the arts and leisure cover. Oh my God, I didn't do you recognize him, Neil?
Hal Holbrook is who I think, but no, who is that?
No, it's Nathan Lane. The moment of
Nathan Lane.
That's Nathan Lane.
Wow.
And Taraji P. Henson, Kelly O'Hara, and other Broadway stars on the wigs, warm-ups, and group hugs, and ghost banishing rituals that help them transform into their characters. So I guess the Tonys might be this weekend. I'm not sure. And last thing I wanted to show you in the paper is something unusual. You think about the things that we take for granted. One of them is the uniforms that healthcare workers wear. When is the last time you thought about it? Except you might notice different colored clothes for nurses, and then within hospitals there are different shades of colors. But there's a company that became known because it started advertising its brand of scrubs, as they're called, and that's a company called Figs. And they advertise in a big way in the subway and all over New York City. But this is unusual, Neil. Look at this. They have
Yes.
Saving lives deserves more credit. 6,000 a year is just the start. Advocacy.wearfigs.com. And this is a whole thing about healthcare is human. Again, something about AI, right? A play about AI. And then it says, with bipartisan support in Congress, FIGS partnered to develop HR 784, a bill introducing first of its kind federal tax credit for up to $6,000 a year for healthcare professionals. And a shout out to all the nurses and doctors who do things. And they need you to they dedicate their lives to us. We need to help them. They demand we take care of the people who take care of us. So I had not heard about this bill, Neil. I don't know if you had.
No, I hadn't, but it's a great example of a gatefold that the New York Times can do out of their printing press in College Point, where you open it up and it's effectively 8 pages, back in front. If you open the whole thing, 4 pages inside, and then the 4 pages on the other side as well.
And people will know that their ambassador here, the global ambassador who went to Capitol Hill, is Noah Wiley from The Pit. I think I'm the only person in America who hasn't seen The Pit, Neil. Maybe you have. You have.
So we have Diane, comments. Yeah, yes. Go ahead.
Diane says, so grateful to all of you, both of you do to keep journalism top of mind. The New York Times read along keeps me sane. Love the community you have created over the decade. Oh my God, that is so kind, and you have done so much with us. We are so grateful to you for saying that, Diane. Thank you very much. Diana says happy birthday. Pradnya says happy birthday, Peter. Peter's still behind me there. And then Pramod says, Sri, you and Neil are our heroes for sharing all of the information in your weekly read-alongs. We salute you both. Oh my God, Neil, how do you respond to that?
I mean, you can't. I mean, it just the way we respond, Sri, is that we keep doing the show.
Yeah,
that's how we respond.
Right. CBS is lost. Will it ever regain its status? Doubtful. Sujana says the FDR's 4 freedoms are freedom of speech and expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. We have a long way to build our country back. So well said, Sujana. And thank you for being a producer on the show, going out and getting that information. Yeah. What a great sneak peek and mini interview. And Deborah says, many folks are pre-diabetic. Thanks for sharing your journey. That's right. Starting today on srinet.substack.com, a new channel, new vertical about my pre-diabetic journey. Peter, thank you for sharing your lovely story, says Pramod. We're very grateful. New York City white passing story. Belle DaCosta Green, librarian who managed and developed the personal library of JP Morgan, a book and exhibit at Morgan Library, told the story. Shows how race is a construct. My mom was lighter skinned than she was, and she was white passing. Amy says, okay, I'm back after getting coffee and ready to go on the left coast. John says, checking out the course right now. Not sure when it's offered. That is time of day. So please check it out. I will find out and we'll get back to you to find out when that's taking place. And Neil reminds us all to sign up for the mailing list. And Naomi says, great masterclass from you as well. Thank you very much. I'm going to be offering versions of our AI workshops remotely for people. I've been traveling, Neil, as you know, 16 countries, 25 cities since 2023. And so grateful to everybody who has supported that work as well. I think we're ready to say goodbye. Neil, anything else?
Yeah. Rini loves the cooking session. She runs a food magazine from India called Dhu, also available in New York City. So thank you, Rini.
The McNally Jackson bookstore is amazing. A great independent bookstore. Everybody should check it out. By the way, Neil, I want to say one thing because we have a lot of readers, authors on here. We say go to your independent bookstore. It used to mean don't go to Barnes and Noble, go to that. That's when you meant independent bookstore. To my mind now, going to a physical bookstore means not shopping at Amazon. So independent to me is bookshop.org and anything else except Amazon if you want to not shop at Amazon. But the distinction, I think Barnes and Noble is now one of those organizations that even though they were the big dominant force, you feel bad for them and you got to support them, even though they're bigger than maybe your smaller book retailer. But there are bookstores in the world and much more than there are in America now, but they do matter. what's the name of the one in Portland, Peter? Powell's Bookstore.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
incredible
And
place.
Strand in New York.
And the Strand in New York, which has, they say something like 5 miles of books or something.
Miles.
They have miles and
Diana
miles of books.
Says about RFK Jr.'s attack on mental health care is one of the most dangerous things happening with this administration. They do a lot of bad things. This is near the top of the list. I couldn't agree more. And Ellen says, let's hear it for the uptick in measles. Thank you, RFK Jr. He's undermining everything medical he can. Speaking of things medical, Pragya says, watch The Pit. I agree. And Diana says she also hasn't watched The Pit. So we still have a few people out there.
All right. Diane, I'm coming out to California on May 30th, San Francisco, near you, for the Arogya World World Gala on May 30th in the Rosewood, the very fancy Rosewood Hotel, as we talk about there's a morning symposium and then an evening gala. We talk about the importance of fighting diabetes and other non-communicable diseases. And so I hope to see you, Diana, there on May 30th, Saturday, May 30th, in the beautiful Bay Area. So thank you, everybody. We should let folks go.
Just a few more. Thank you so much. It's going to be a great week. Ellen, happy birthday to Peter. Thank you so much for this. John Lee is looking for an entry-level Indian recipe to try. And John does a little bit more fact-checking. It's 20 miles at the Strand, not just 5, Sri. So thank you very much. Again, as a reminder, we will not have a show next week because of Memorial Day weekend, but we will be back the week after, May 31st. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support. And for if you keep coming back, we'll keep coming back. That's the promise we can make. Diana says thank you for another great show. And Sri even has fireworks to share with us. So thank you again. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.